Hey guys, how you doing? It's the Honey Do Carpenter, and today we are going to talk about my rocket mass heater. We're going to cover a lot of the bases on it, and it's going to be really cool. I'm excited about this video, but there's a lot of math. Here. Can you see that, babe?
Yeah. You know you have scissors right behind you?
But they weren't right in front of me.
Like, literally, if you stick your arm out, you could touch them.
Here's all my notes, what we're going to talk about. And the things I studied and how I came about breaking all the rules and still making a rocket mass heater that kicks butt. Let me see. The math theories that I studied. Rathkeel's laws of torque. Force times distance equals torque. Newton's law. Object in motion tends to want to stay in motion. Newton's second law. What is that? Oh, that's the law of rotational and angular momentum. Who wants to talk about that stuff? Me neither. But I am going to talk about some things that everybody can understand. And I am going to be talking a little bit about Rathkeel's laws of torque, maintaining an equilibrium or a balance. But that's the last I'm going to state any kind of theory to you. What's that cat doing? Okay, let's talk about fire for a minute and what it is. Wood typically is made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen molecules. The heat is the result of the molecules separating from one another. You have a carbon molecule, it separates and becomes CO2, which is carbon mixed with oxygen when the oxygen mixes with it. They have a thing called a fire triangle. And it doesn't work without all of it. You have to have oxygen, the fuel source, and a heat source. It creates its own heat source. But as soon as you remove the oxygen, it starts to go away. So, why does my stove even work if all that is true? Helical resonant cavity. What is that? That's the conical shape that's made in nature. In snail shells, in hurricanes, in tornadoes. And that's the shape that the stuff goes up your rocket. The gases go shooting up your rocket stove at. But I don't want to talk about that either. Okay. Get out of here. One thing we've all done is driven a car up a hill. What happens when you start going up a hill in your car? The hill creates resistance. What is the resistance? The resistance is gravity. Gravity is what? It's a constant. It's always there and it's always the same. So going down, resistance removes. Sometime going up this hill, it may slow you down 5 or 10 miles an hour, but you can maintain, instead of 60 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour. And at that point, the amount of resistance coming at you with gravity and the amount of power are at an equilibrium. On the way down, what happens? You would accelerate. Okay, guys. What if we have a river? This river is flowing and it comes to a wide spot in the river. Now we're going to talk a little bit about momentum. So the water is rushing really fast. What happens as soon as it hits this big mass of water? Well, it slows way down and it just barely moves across. But the gravity is still there. The same amount of energy is still behind it. So what happens as it comes to the other end of the wide spot? it gets more and more and more and more, and then it starts rushing again out the other end with the same amount of energy as it came in. That's all there is to energy. You have energy behind an object. Doesn't matter if it's water, doesn't matter if it's a ball bearing or a car or a gas. If it's in motion, it tends to want to stay in motion. And it only slows down or stops until the resistance or the force in front of it. What was I saying now, babe? You messed me all up.
A force in motion
Oh,
will
yeah.
continue until it is stopped by
Right. And so it's just force and resistance. Rocket mass stoves work the exact same way. Take a look at this cutaway view of my rocket stove. Here we have our damper intake. We have our firebox. This is where the magic happens. This is where the gases are heated and then rush upward. As they do that, it's going to heat this whole area and heat the riser, and once that starts happening, it's going to accelerate up that riser faster and faster and faster as it gets hotter and hotter. When that acceleration happens, it's going to create a negative pressure right here. This is the vortex area. Now, as the gases come up and go into that vortex area, that is like a wide spot in the river. It's going to slow down for a split second because there's way more cubic inches in there, because it's 6.5 cubic inches in diameter than the 4-inch riser. And also, you see this plate right here where the cursor is? That is a specific size plate that cuts down this area where the gases go up to a certain specific square inches. It's meant to cause turbulence and resistance. And as this gas tries to flow up really fast up the riser, it's going to create a negative pressure in the vortex area, which will suck gases up this tube, not gases, but oxygen that's coming in through here, in this tube and up into the vortex area, where it will flash off any unburnt gases that may have not gotten flashed off in the burn chamber. Now, if we turn it, you can see that there's a 2-inch gap area here where the air comes in. So, and the air is moving this way. So this air that's getting sucked in through negative pressure on this end of the vortex tube will be oxygenated clean air. Now, as the gas goes up the riser into the downdraft shroud that's around it, it's racing up here in an accelerated manner, and then boom, a lot of that heat is lost and radiated out here, and that's our energy that pushes this stuff. But this is like it hitting another wider, even bigger spot in the river. And so that air slows down, and it'll slow down kind of slowly until it comes down and goes out the exhaust. At which time, obviously, because the exhaust is smaller, it's going to speed up again. But it's not going to be going nearly as fast as it was coming up out of here, because we've lost some of our energy. Now, okay, initially when you start the stove, it's going to come out the exhaust, and the flapper valve is going to be in such an arrangement that the gas will go directly out the insulated stovepipe and through the insulated window insert. Now guys, as those gases come up and rush up this pipe, they're actually accelerating up it. Once this pipe gets a little bit warm and those gases aren't losing their energy as they come up and out, when you initially start the fire and you're not running it through the bench yet with the flapper valve, they kind of slowly come up through here. But once they start getting warmer and warmer and warmer, it actually starts to accelerate up, and it creates a negative pressure throughout the whole system. It pulls that hard. And so that's what makes this rocket mass system work so well, is that. And after about 5 minutes of warming everything up and running it through there, you can go ahead and flip your valve and close it off to the exit there, and then it'll come down and run through your bench and then up and out. All the while, this is not under a positive pressure being forced up, because that riser in the system is going to want to create a positive pressure for a while as it comes out. Once it's heated up, once this thing is heated up, guys, it is a vacuum the whole way through, and it pulls it really fast. You actually might have to close the damper down or set it to a certain point to slow it down a little bit. Now, that being said about the damper, I am going to be putting a heat regulator that opens and closes the damper. So when the fire begins to go out and the quits creating quite as much heat, there's going to be a heat coil that will close this damper off automatically. So this will be a system so automatic, it'll be something that you can start up, fire, open your damper, and just let it completely burn out, and you could be off at the grocery store and it's just going to automatically close off your damper when the fire gets burned out, and then you don't have to worry about all your heat getting lost in the bench, because the bench is going to have those copper tentacles in it and it would work backwards as well as forwards. In fact, I had one comment on the last video and they were worried about that very thing. They said, if it turned off getting warm and sunny, you couldn't turn off the heat if it was in a battery. Well, you can run this battery backwards. You can just open up the flue and let the heat go out the stovepipe, and it's going to actually run backwards. Or you can close it off, and then it would just slowly radiate out into the room. The difference in my stove is that it creates a vacuum. The difference between having gravity, which is a constant energy behind something, and having heat as your energy is heat is not a constant energy. It'll radiate, dissipate, and go away. What makes the rocket stove work is because it's insulated and you're keeping that heat in there. It's not going away, so it rushes up. Not only does it reverse any positive pressure in the pipe, so it's safer and there's no chance for any type of a leak that would put CO2 in your living quarters or whatever. It accelerates up and creates a vacuum, and it doesn't take that much heat to do it. We were just running 120, 130 degrees out the top of Julie's system, and that's with a 12-foot chimney pipe. Hey, buddy. Honey Do Carpenter's rock.
Yeah, huh?
So, guys, one thing I am excited about is I got all of those bulk parts that I've been promising you guys, so I can put my kits together. Okay? So here's a 1/4-inch valve. Really cool ball valve. And I had to special order these and have them special made with these nipples on them, guys. There's a 3/8.
It says a 1/4 inch.
Well, yeah, it's a 1/4-inch valve with a 1/4-inch pipe thread, but it takes a 3/8 hose to go onto it, like this one, sweetie. So I was just talking about the nipples on it. There's the foaming solution, and this is the air nipple, because you want to have a bigger volume of air. And so I got those. Oh yeah, wow, I got lots. So all the Y's and T's that I need. Oh yeah, all these things. And here's the other valves that are the 1/4 inch ones. So I have all these parts. I can put my kits together, and anybody who is willing to do the labor and just glue them together and put them together themselves, all I'm going to do is put all the pieces and parts, including the hose. I got hundreds of hose clamps, guys, that I ordered. Stainless steel, really high quality hose clamps. Little ones. So all I'm going to do is just put kits together with all the valves and everything you need, and I'll do some that are just for the end nozzle. If you guys want to make your own tank out of a propane tank or some other vessel, that's your deal. And then I'll do another kit with a large tank and another kit with a small tank. But all I'm going to do is just glue together the pieces that have to be glued together for me to drill and thread in the barbed pieces that the hose is hooked to. So if I send out a kit, all it's going to have is the regulator bulb glued together so that I can drill it out for the valves, and then the 2 ends caps drilled out and threaded for the tank. But as long as I don't have to do the labor, it's going to take the cost way down on these